Hello, welcome back to the Village Hall from Page to Stage with me, Matt Ogden, and this man so close to me this time.
Very close.
Yes, very close indeed. I can even smell his t-shirt.
Don't.
It's Mr. Richard Sykes. How are you, Rich?
I'm tip-top. As you can see, as you mentioned the t-shirt, we've got to mention the branding.
Yes.
Because we are Village Hall compliant today.
Yeah.
Because I've got a large, and it's not quite as big as maybe it should be. I think I've got Village Hall nipple coming through, so just try and avoid that area.
Oh, the key. We found the key.
Nipples are always the key.
So, Rich,
Yes.
to get back on track.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we today?
Well, today we're in HD1. We're in one of the studios down below where they're rehearsing. We're here on a Sunday, and what's happening today is that Lauren, our wonderful choreographer, is spending the whole rehearsal breaking down each and every one of the routines, just to make sure that people know exactly where they are, what's coming. The routines aren't really strenuous because they're supposed to be quite naturalistic. There are some lovely moves in them.
And with it being in the round, it's kind of,
Yeah.
you know, they've got nowhere to hide anyway, so they need to kind of flow into and out of.
That's right.
the
But it
building,
means
don't
you can't do things like the normal theatrical tricks of having kick lines. And you just can't. They don't work in the round. So she's put together some extraordinary routines. Neil's done wonders as well. They've worked very much together. Lauren's done about 4 or 5 of the big routines, and Neil's taken the rest. They've put out together a lovely ballet routine for one of the numbers. It's so sweet. But the variety in this show is why I think we needed Lauren as choreographer on this one. Because, I mean, Neil would have had to cope with Highland dancing, line dancing, yoga positions, and it would have been insane. So it's better to have that job split for this.
I think the yoga positions, he probably could have handled that one.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, he managed a Zumba class with By George.
He did, but there's a difference between that. I can't see Neil downward dogging. I just can't. So naturally, Lauren had to take
But if
over.
you'd like to, you can go. No, he's not in this one, so you can't see him do it.
This is true.
So today is obviously a big day for kind of tidying up and making sure that things are kind of ship-shape.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Neil's on a cruise.
He is
right now,
which is one of the reasons that we've taken this decision to split these rehearsals quite significantly into who's leading them. So Kira is doing the musical stuff, and so she does the Monday evening rehearsals. Lauren is taking the Sunday rehearsals because they're long, and we can use HD1 as a brilliant facility for the choreography. It's got lovely mirrored walls and bouncy floors.
I know we can see each other right now. It's really weird. It's like there's loads of different Matts and Riches.
Yeah.
So
it's terrifying.
It's great.
But then myself and Maria have the Thursday rehearsals because we're going to be concentrating on how the script is working, whether the script is working. And we had a full run of Act 1 on Thursday. Honestly, we were blown away. Maria and I just kept commenting, this is far more advanced than we thought it would be at this point. We thought we were going to be struggling because it's the first rehearsal where we'd had books down. People had to learn their lines and come to that rehearsal fully prepped. And my word, it actually ran. I mean, we were feeding in lines occasionally, but it looked in really, really good shape. We said to the guys at the rehearsal that if we were now 6 weeks away from the premiere, then we think it'd be overripe by the time we got to the show. If we were 2 weeks away from the premiere, we'd feel a little underprepared. We are absolutely in that Goldilocks moment of just right in the middle. And so it seems that everything's going really well. One of the big things is that none of the cast have left, you know, and we've had no emergencies, touch wood, touch Formica, touch everything. But it all seems to be going really well. Ticket sales are bouncing up as well.
Excellent.
So,
that's good to hear.
Yeah. So the idea is to get yours as soon as you can. We'll give you details about that after we've spoken to someone.
And who are we going to speak to today, Rich?
Really, it's the one of the few cast members that we haven't spoken to yet on the podcast, and his name is Gareth Dickinson, very good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's a fantastic performer, and I've had obviously the privilege, the pleasure of performing alongside Gareth when we did Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, very intimately, isn't it? Because there aren't many parts in Sunset Boulevard.
No, just the 4 main cast
you've
members.
You've got the
really,
4 cast, and Gareth was one. You were the other lead, the other male lead, and that was an extraordinary production. It was really good, but it was very intense.
And the crazy thing about that is that Gareth hadn't sang for like multiple years, and now, you know, obviously with getting back involved with musical theatre, he obviously played Frollo in Hunchback, and he was phenomenal in that. Yeah. And then now he's going to be Ken's here.
Yes, he's going to be Ken in this one. We'll explain it all in the interview.
So let's shoot over to Gareth.
So folks, here I am. Gareth Dickinson is in the house with me, and it's a delight because we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, now I've been meaning to ask you this.
Go on.
What have we done previously? Because I can never remember. Because I don't, unlike everybody else, I don't keep scrapbooks and things of anything.
Right.
Anything I've got from plays and musical stuff is scattered about the house all over. In fact, it's not. Most of it won't be at my house. It'll be Mum and Dad's house because they've got loft space. So it's scattered about. So I can't. And people go to me, "Oh, we were in. Oh, do you remember?" And I'm thinking, I can't remember that. Was I in that? I'm thinking. So what was it?
No, you and I have never ever done a show together.
No, I didn't think we had.
And we still haven't. I mean,
no.
We're writing and you know, you're performing, but we're still not going to be on stage together.
Yeah.
And the only reason you were on my radar to begin with was the choir. Weren't you in the Huddersfield Choral Society?
Oh my God, yes, I was.
So now, did you come in with a children's choir, or was it the youth choir?
It was the youth choir. It was the youth choir.
Yes. And I think it was possibly through that you got involved in other stuff. I know it's tough because I hate to tell you, it is more than 35 years ago.
Oh,
but nonetheless.
I mean, I must have, when I was in that, I mean, to be fair, I wasn't in it that long.
No, you weren't.
No, I wasn't in it that long. I think I decided, I got it and I thought, I don't like this.
It was different.
I think it was because, for me, it felt like being back at school.
Yeah, there was.
In some cases.
Yeah.
It felt a little bit
formal.
like that. Yeah. And I don't know whether that was David Crowther that gave it that, because he had that thing of standing there and very much announcing at the front.
That's right. And
Ken was great. Ken Rotherham. My sister was taught music by him. I mean, not that it made any difference to her, because she's but he was taught music. She was taught music by Ken at Kirkburton.
Yes.
And then he left the year before the year I arrived. He'd left the year before. Right. So I just missed out on Ken. However, years later, I went for music theory lessons with Ken Rotherham. Right. So I worked with Ken that way.
Well, that means you and I only just overlapped at that choir. And it may be a matter of months.
Yeah,
but of course, I remember you.
The main thing I remember from the choir is we did something outside the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, I think. A concert
we did
up
something
there.
El Cortadona.
Yeah. I think I sang Tono Salento, if I remember, Tono Salento, I think, for some reason. And I remember Sally Perkins, who had a marvellous voice, wonderful mezzo, singing Blow the Wind Southerly.
Yes, I remember us being camped out at an old university.
That's it.
A university campus.
That's it. Yes.
And that's where we were.
Right. Yes.
But we did the main show we did was our own sort of performance. You know, the choir will be performing at this time.
That's right. Yeah.
But we were there to supplement an orchestral work which was done by this guy who'd written something specifically for us.
That's right.
That was the El Cortadun bit.
Yeah.
And we just had to sit there throughout the whole thing, and then at a certain point we were asked to stand and sing it.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. And there were about 5 people in the audience.
Yeah,
there was no one there. There were more for our own concert, which we were doing as a sideline.
Yes, there was. Yeah.
And to me, it was a very interesting thing. But nonetheless, it is something that is a premiere.
Yeah, and so a premiere is a premiere.
A premiere is a premiere. How many have you done? Have you
premieres?
Yes.
I've probably only done one. That stands out, well, musical-wise, and that was The Picture of Dorian Gray that Ron McAllister wrote.
Yes.
That's right. I'm trying to think.
So you weren't
Richard McCartney played Dorian, of course, and I remember that Ron approached me and Richard to sing through some of this stuff he was writing. So I remember us now in the dressing rooms downstairs in the theatre with a piano there, an upright piano, him playing and us singing through some of the stuff for him and everything while he was trying to get it all together and everything.
Yeah.
And then we got parts and things together, and we got various people, and then we've got Andrake was in it as well. She's fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that was in it was really good. And it turns out, of course, the man that directed it was my drama teacher at Shelley. It was Stephen Downs.
Stephen Downs.
Stephen Downs.
Stephen.
Yeah, he was my drama teacher at Shelley.
I mean, it's a trip down memory lane. We should explain to the people who are listening to the podcast that Ron McAllister was the first technical director or production manager that they had.
He was the first
in 96,
director of the. Yeah, he was. When he first opened.
He stayed for a long while, and Richard was working on the box office at that point.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
along with various alumni of and people who we know very, very well from our. Yeah. I'm going to call it our heyday, but you've had a real resurgence of late. Because, I mean, you were doing pantomimes for a long while, and you did a few bits, but then you left theatre for a little while, didn't you? And concentrated not on musicals, but mainly on theatre and plays.
Yeah, I did. Well, I mean, I started out with plays. That's what I started with when I was about 11.
Yeah.
And then I did musicals later on. I went to see Phantom of the Opera in 1987.
Right.
In London. Luckily, me and my mum were going to London. We just got tickets on the off chance. We thought, we want to go see a musical. I'd never seen one. And we thought, well, the one that had just opened and was really popular was Phantom. We weren't going to get tickets for that. And then lo and behold, weirdly, we got tickets. We went booked through Keith Prowse or something like that and got tickets. And they said, oh, no, you got tickets. And I mean, we couldn't have got better seats. They were literally at the front of the dress circle.
Oh, beautiful.
Right in the centre. I mean, so you saw the chandelier, the whole thing. And I mean, I was absolutely blown away. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. In fact, I was in two minds as to whether I'd actually enjoy it. But when I got there, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. Me and Mum went down every Christmas or for years. And so Phantom was the first, and then we saw Les Mis, then we saw Miss Saigon, and we saw ticking all through them and everything. Yeah. So we did all of that. Yeah. So and that's what got me singing. Yeah. I'd already been acting before that, and then I started singing it. And in '87, my voice had broken, and it had broken. Luckily, in such a way that it was quite usable when it broke. Yes. It didn't sort of go through this whole where your voice was doing that. It was actually quite usable when it broke.
So I caught up with you when the break had already happened, because we remember this gorgeous, rich baritone voice powering through. It was wonderful. And you know.
Well, I went eventually to an advice audition at the Royal Northern. And I can remember now, what they call the guy, Chris Underwood was the guy that ran the vocal studies section at the RNCM at the time. And I sang for him, and I remember him saying, I was deeply insulted. He said, with his beautiful bass voice, beautiful speaking bass voice, he said, well, dear boy, he said, it's very good, it's very, very good. He said, but it's a little contrived. And I sort of thought, so I sat there, so I went, oh, okay. Yeah, it's a little contrived and all that. And he was absolutely right. It was contrived because my diction was awful. Couldn't tell a word of it. I remember it at the time. I remember singing Old Man River and singing He Just Capes Rolling Along instead of Keeps, because I didn't want to, and in fact, somebody picked it out to me and said, look, I'm sorry to say it, but you do realise you're singing, and I knew I was.
Right.
But I just thought that was to keep it open rather than, And I eventually got lessons with a guy that teaches at the Royal Northern, a guy called Nick Powell.
Right.
And he was brilliant. Yeah. And he sorted out the diction like that.
How?
I don't know. All we did were exercises.
Right.
That was all we did. We didn't really sing any songs or anything like that. We just did exercises. And I don't know how he did it. It just sort of...
So it was repetition.
He got me to stop singing in a way where I was sort of going, whoa, and to make it more, allow the sound to be produced a little further back, actually, rather than bring it too far forward. And he also taught me how to get, because my range sort of went to an E or an F. Yeah. F was really sort of getting to the top, and I always struggled beyond that. Yeah. And he taught me how to, what different people have different words for it. It taught me how to close or to cover or things like that. And when I learned how to do that, suddenly it put a whole extension onto the top of the voice, a secure extension that I didn't know I had, that brought the,
So did you go from baritone to tenor?
I started out as bass. Yes. Because I would only have been about, how old was I? I would only been about 13 when I started having lessons. Yeah. And my first singing teacher, Beryl Breyer, she said, it was well known in Huddersfield, but she was very, very careful not to push the voice with me being so young. She didn't want to sort of, So I started out ostensibly as a bass, and then sort of went into baritone, and then people thought, once I got that extension, people thought I was going to become a tenor.
Yes.
And somehow, and then in the meantime, I've done all sorts of messed about and God knows what else, probably things that you shouldn't do, and I've not had lessons for years and I've buggered about with it and all sorts. So I suppose I'm sort of a high baritone, really.
Right.
You know, which is why I was a little afraid when I came to do Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Sure.
That's written for a bass.
Yes.
You know, really.
It is.
And I thought, I'm not a bass. I really am not a bass. I know that for a fact. And I hadn't used that lower register for years.
What was your range in Sunset Boulevard? That didn't go particularly high.
It goes to I think it goes to an F sharp or a G. I think a G is the highest it gets to.
So it felt comfy for you.
So G was that was, although the main song is not an easy thing.
No.
You know.
Well, not
because
it's
all,
is it?
you know, it's not an easy thing to do. That means, I mean, I love it.
Yes.
I've always loved that song, and I just love the fact that it's the main theme of the show, and I love the sound of it.
Yeah.
But it isn't an easy one to sing.
I've seen so many idols fall. She's the greatest star.
I would argue that it was a real challenge, that show, for the whole cast. But you had a great cast doing it.
Yeah.
And one of the key people, I mean, Gemma Clarkson was in it, wasn't she?
She was. She was fabulous.
Clarkson as was.
Yeah. She was wonderful. Wonderful.
I mean, and you had Matt there, who apparently, I
think I know what you're going to say.
Well, he did suggest that I start off the podcast by patting you on the bottom.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he did. Every night before I went to the bedroom, when I take him up to his room, show him his room, just before I sing Greatest Star of All, I would just go into the wings and he'd immediately go boop, like that, nip my bum as I went on.
Why?
I don't know. He just did it one rehearsal.
Right.
He just did it one. Well, you know what Matt's like.
Of course.
He just did it one rehearsal, and that was it.
Yeah, Matt's a resoundingly playful soul.
He's very playful. He's the biggest flirt. I haven't met a flirt like Matt for years. You know, and I told him this in the dressing room. I said he was flirting with a makeup lady. I said, you can't help yourself, can you? No. And he went, no, I can't. No. I said,
he spent years flirting with me on this podcast. I should tell you,
I can imagine.
It's got him
nowhere.
Yeah. Nowhere.
I can imagine. Yeah. So that happened, and that's sort of become a tradition.
Traditions are everything.
I mean, I'm not complaining.
No,
No.
I think his wristwatch is still up there, but I don't.
Oh, well, it's lost now. That's it.
But you moved from Sunset and you went over to the Hunchback. That was the scale of that show just blows you away. Yes.
Oh,
I mean,
fabulous.
there's a choir on stage, and it was about 20 strong. Was it?
Yeah, something like that. The only thing about Hunchback is, I auditioned for it.
Did you?
Yeah. And I. But the thing is, I didn't really. Somebody said, you should try Hunchback. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
There's a part in that ideal for you. And I said, oh, right. So when I had a look at the cast list and I looked down and I saw Frollo, I thought, I'm pretty sure that's what they're thinking about, Frollo, because they didn't mention a part. So I thought, looking at it, I'm pretty sure that's the one they're thinking of. So I looked at the part and I thought, oh, actually, I like the sound of this. It sounds very good. So I auditioned for it, learnt the song, auditioned for it and that sort of thing, and then got the part and didn't realise how big the part was.
Huge.
Till I got the actual script and looked through it and went, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh God! And then thought it's in a lot, and I had no idea how big the part, because I didn't know the musical.
No, of course,
didn't know it. So, and I thought, oh God, this is a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Were you intimidated by that?
No, actually,
because you've had huge parts in plays.
Yeah. No, it wasn't particularly, because, and it felt relatively. I mean, you'll know this yourself. Some parts are easier to learn than others.
Absolutely.
And you can't always figure out why.
No.
Some parts, that you think are going to be easy to learn turn out to be an absolute nightmare to learn. And some parts that you think might be difficult turn out to be straightforward. You think, what was I worrying about this for? That, I looked at it and thought, okay. And it seemed to go in relatively easily.
I'm setting myself up for a fall here.
Go on.
But usually it comes down to the quality of the writing.
Yeah.
So we then come to the Village Hall.
Yes, yeah.
Now, you didn't audition to play Kenneth.
No, I didn't.
Ken.
No, I didn't.
Who is the evildoer of the cast. And
Again.
Well, yes.
Typecast again.
Don't
get me wrong, I enjoy doing villains. I do enjoy villains.
The devils always get the best tunes.
Yeah,
I always love to play the devil.
Yeah. It's always because it's more fun to play the villain. And I always found that from being a kid, I realised that it was more fun to play the villain. Yes. It was the first thing I ever did.
Really?
Was playing a villain.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I mean, even going back to starting plays properly, and even at the first, as most people do, they do little play things at school.
Yeah.
And we did a thing about Giant Finn, about the Giant's Causeway in Ireland. It was like a little play thing. I can't remember exactly how it came about, and they all went around the class, everybody having to go reading a part or doing a little part. This is at first school, going around. So no, junior school, so going around. And then the class voted for who they wanted to play what. And when it came to doing the villain, I did the Culcullen bit, and they voted for me to play it, having never done anything like that before.
No.
And yet, bizarrely, having never done anything like that before, it all seemed to come really naturally. Yeah. And I'd never had a worry about it. And so the first thing I ever did, in front of an audience, even in a small way as it was at school, was a villain.
It's interesting that the democracy of everyone saying, "Oh yes, you'd be very good at that." I dread to think what would happen in our circles at the moment with Huddersfield Light and Woodhouse and Huddersfield itself, as to if we actually said, "Oh yeah, they'd be very good at that. Let's put them in." I think it might actually work.
Well, yeah, you might be right.
It's worth noting for next time. But you auditioned to be the rather drippy vicar, our lovely Geoffrey.
Yeah.
And you did a sensational audition.
I just liked the part. I read it and I just thought, and it just sort of appealed to me because I just thought, oh yeah, I quite like the goofiness of this character. I like the sort of, the comedy of the character, the gentleness of the character in many ways.
Yeah, he's a very, very, very sweet, well-meaning.
Yeah, exactly. I sort of quite liked that.
And we all agreed that, because I was on the panel as well, that you'd be brilliant, absolutely perfect as Geoffrey. But then, just before you left the rehearsal, the audition, I did make sure that you read some of Ken.
Yes, which was the telephone conversation that he has. Yeah.
And you'd not seen it before.
No, I'd never seen it. Not prepared for it. Completely cold. Just looked at it and thought, oh right, okay.
Yeah, but you aced it, and it was obvious to everyone. At the moment you left, everyone said, "Oh, we've got issues here because what do we put him as?" And Ken's been. It's been an absolute delight watching you, not because you didn't have the character straight off.
No.
You developed it.
Yeah.
And some people have gone with their first instincts. You've really channeled what you think. And we love watching Ken now.
Oh, great.
It's just, it's divine to watch.
He's an amalgamation of all sorts of things that there's certain bits that I channeled. I mean, that awful poem that he does.
Voids.
Oh, Voids.
Legend.
Oh, I mean, I love that because all I heard in my head was, now then, it was a Victoria Wood. You know, in the 80s, she did a series of standalone sort of little plays, little vignettes.
Mensana and a thing.
That's the one. Yes. And the one I remember is particularly that I really loved was the one at the Christmas party.
Yes.
That had Patricia Hodge in it and everything, and I remember that. And it's I've
got the script on the shelf.
Yeah, there you go. You see, and when I heard Voids, it was what they call him. That was in it. He played basically what he's playing is Alan Bleasdale, I think. It's a send-up of his stuff and everything. And it was the way he read his play out in there that I could hear in the back of my head when I read that. That's what popped into my head. So the way I'm doing it is, sort of Jim Broadbent.
Yes.
The way he was doing it. That's one of the things that popped into my head.
Not many better people to emulate.
And that's what I heard in my head. That is what I could hear.
Yeah.
In the way he presented that when I read that, and I thought, that's.
Well, I mean, every one of Ken's lines that I was writing, he's just awful.
Oh, he is.
He's just awful.
And actually, can I just say, some of the rewrite you did recently, I read that and I thought, he really is. It's almost as if he's gone a bit darker.
I think
in that little bit, because I read that and I thought. Ooh,
I think.
I mean, particularly that line right at the end where it says, "I own you." And you just think, I thought, oh God, that's...
Well, there was a very specific reason for doing those sort of rewrites. And I hate to tell you, there are a couple more rewrites, just odd words here and there.
Right.
But they solidify how awful Ken is. Because I'm sorry, Gareth, you're very likeable. And if someone different, if someone had played it aggressively, we couldn't have done that rewrite. I Own You would be a horrible line.
Yeah.
But in your eyes, you've got this, you've given Ken this sort of fragility and this desperation.
Yeah.
And so he's not a total bastard.
No.
There are layers there.
Yeah, he's misguided. He's desperate to try and make up for past, for past, not necessarily mistakes, but
just
wanting to be able
errors.
to just get accounting errors. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's just a few miscalculations.
Yeah, that's all.
That's all it is. But I think he's desperate to try and get away from that as much, obviously because it's dodgy. But he wants to. And I'd like to say start afresh, but unfortunately it would be start afresh, but doing the same old tricks.
Oh, yes.
Hoping this time he could get away with it.
Yes, very
He'll keep
Trumpian.
trying. Yeah. He'll keep trying to get away with it. He'll just keep doing it.
Yes.
And trying to get away with it if he can.
And so he must be stopped.
Absolutely must be
Yes.
stopped. Yes.
Yes.
So
That's always the fun of it.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
it? Is when event.
and the last scene too. I love the last scene. I just love all of that.
Well, we've got to be a bit careful with spoilers.
Yes,
but
indeed.
As
but
long as we
I
can
do
say
love the
that
last.
you
I do
love
love
it.
that last scene.
And I think it'll be splendid.
I mean, in my mind at the moment, I was saying this to I think to Charlotte the other day at the rehearsal. It's still all just a little bit. It's better than it was, but it's still all a little bit separate sections.
Yes.
And it's not until we actually start to run the whole thing through that suddenly the whole thing will just come together.
I find every musical I've ever done like that because you concentrate on the routines and then it becomes bitty.
Yeah.
And the fact is, when you're doing that with a normal musical, everyone knows the storyline.
Yeah.
With this, I don't think the storyline is very evident until you start seeing the props and the keys and you know what's happening.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a chance it suffered a bit through that. But we watched the first act come together the other day and I thought it was great. You really follow it as it's going through.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of it. Are you happy you've done it?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been nice to come back to musicals in general. I mean,
Sure.
I spent sort of 13 years away from doing them. I'm just doing plays and things. I think just because, not for any particular reason, a lot of the musicals that people do these days don't really suit me particularly. Vocally, they don't particularly suit me. They're too jukebox style musicals, which don't really do it for me.
I'm against them too.
And frankly, anybody that, and to be fair, and a lot of these jukebox musicals by their very nature are very dance orientated, which completely counts me out because I am rubbish. I did say, I remember when Neil rang me about the parts, they were trying to decide on the parts, and he rang me and said, oh, look, we've got a bit of a quandary.
did Neil
here.
ring you?
Yeah, he did. We've got a bit of a quandary. But I said to him, I said, look, I'd looked at when I went to it, I looked at the music for Ken, the song for Ken, and I looked at the script and I said, actually, this is quite funny, this is quite good. And I rang him back and I said, look, if you want me to do Ken, I'll do that. I said, the only thing that concerned me is that in the song, there's these quite long musical sections. I said, that sound an awful lot like dance breaks to me. I said, so, just bear that in mind, that I don't really want to be doing any of that.
But Gareth, you've got to bear in mind that I can't write musicals with dance breaks because I can't dance either.
There we go. Oh, that's fine. That's
you'll
absolutely
never
fine.
get dance breaks in my
That's
show.
absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. I heard all this music in this section and I thought, sounds a bit like a dance could be put in there. And I'm not bothered about putting it. Don't want any dancers there. I hadn't realised, of course, there's dialogue there. So.
Oh, yes.
So
yeah.
that's fine.
I mean, there's you move. There's a difference between dance and movement, and your moves as Ken are quite distinctive as well.
I assume that's a good thing, not
It's a brilliant thing, but it's part of your development as a character, I think, isn't it? That you think about how a character moves.
Yeah.
There is a big physicality to these performances that you give.
Oh yeah, it's actually very physical. It's actually a very physical part, which I hadn't realised until we got further into it. And I thought, and then I realised, there's a lot of times when it requires a lot of physicality.
Yeah, a lot of exasperation and concentration into the part.
Exactly.
Because you're the main focus of people's ire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's majestic. I've got to ask a few main things before we finish. I need to know your favourite line, and if you can, your favourite song. Which do you want to tackle first?
Right, I'll tell you what. I can tell you the favourite. Well, actually, it's a couple. Actually, I have to say, and they're not even lines really; they're words.
Good.
I think it's Joan says, "I don't believe in," or "I'm not superstitious," or something like that. And the response is a typical Capricorn, and I love that.
Good.
I love that line.
Good.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's absolutely brilliant. And the other one is when she says, "Are you open to constructive criticism?" And I said, "Naturally," and she says, "You are crap."
So
and I love that as well.
So it's all Joan, basically.
Yes, it is really. Yes,
fine.
yeah. I just love those lines. I think they're great.
They've got Joan and Jenny they're modelled on Victoria Wood and Julie Walters.
Yeah, and I
know we have a shared admiration.
Yeah,
of that.
absolutely.
So that stands to reason. Favourite song?
Other than my own, of course.
We love your song.
I think it has to be, and I can't remember the title of it.
Yeah, no.
In the second act, the ballad of the second act, the duet between Helen and...
This is why it's
and
called.
I love a ballad.
It's when two songs sort of mesh together.
I think that's great.
Great. Well, in that case,
And I love that.
You know how much you mean to us as a cast member. We were absolutely delighted when you walked into the auditions, and even better when you walked out and agreed to do Ken. It was brilliant.
Pleasure.
Gareth, may you enjoy every second of the next month. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So, that was Mr. Gareth Dickinson, and sadly, I was unavailable.
You were?
Yeah.
Shocking.
I know, terrible form. It's almost like I've got another show to do.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we're currently on a break for that as well, so at the moment,
Yeah.
it's just me practicing a few things and doing a few little small rehearsals here and there with the adult cast who aren't on holiday, as and when we can. But
Well, I should explain to those who haven't been following the podcast that Matt is in School of Rock. He's
Again?
taking the role of Dewey, and that's with Longwood, and that'll be
is.
at the Lawrence Batley Theatre October.
7th to the 11th of October.
There we go.
After the Village Hall premiere.
Indeed.
Which is more important to promote at this moment in time,
Just
because
at this
at time of filming, I believe that we are only, quick bit of maths, 3 or 4 weeks away.
3.5. Yeah.
There you go, pretty good maths.
Well, you'll find that there's been a countdown on the podcast, which has freaked out our cast, because I've been putting on. We've got 5 podcasts to go until the premiere. Now we've got 4. Now we've got 3. Now we've got so they are starting
Squeaky bum
to.
time now, isn't it?
But 3 weeks is still 3 weeks, you know. And
it's a good amount of time, considering that you've obviously managed to do a full run of Act 1, books down. And, like we always say on all of these episodes, the important thing to remember is that this is the first time anyone's ever done this. They've got no frame of reference. They haven't got something that they can lean back on and go, I'll just listen to the cast recording, or I'll just watch it on YouTube. They've got to learn these parts for the first time ever, and they've got to get to grips with it, get to grips with your songs, which are hard at the best of times,
Yes, they are.
and make sure that they understand everything that they're doing, plus adding the situation of being in the round and going, God, what do I need to do next?
Yes. There's another element, of course, which is that myself and Maria, not that element, not an earthquake. Myself and Maria are having to check to make sure that the plot comes through okay. Well, we don't know.
Important.
Well, it is. It's absolutely vital.
People sat there like, I really enjoyed it, but what on earth was going on? Something about a village hall.
Something about that. We've got to make sure that certain elements of the plot strands come through.
Yeah.
And that has to be done within this rehearsal period. We can't just get to the first night and think, we should have mentioned that really.
Let's just do a quick rewrite.
Well, I'm sure over the last 3 weeks there will be a couple of rewrites, because it'll be the first time we'll have seen the show in its entirety.
So you need to see that those plot threads are
We
tied
do.
together.
And when we've done the script reads, we've obviously read the instructions, and they have emphasis on someone doing something, and that's important.
But if that's not happening.
Exactly right. Or if it's because it's in the round, if something isn't as obvious as it should be, and the audience miss it, then we are screwed. So we have to make sure that all that happens. It'll mean a little more intensity on the last 2 weeks of rehearsal, because we've just got to make sure that everything's right, and we may be changing a couple of lines here and there.
So is that primarily to make sure that, let's say, because obviously when we discussed how By George had kind of come together, and the fact that you mentioned at the start of this podcast when we had our first episode, and then we chatted to Maria, of course, as well. We learned that by this stage, when you were coming to do the auditions phase, you were very polished with the script.
Yeah.
The revisions were minimal at most, just to make sure that, you know, certain things kind of tied together, and obviously the cast that you had assembled being potentially different ages or potentially different kind of characterizations meant that you can just slightly tailor any small references or lines or stage directions. But obviously with By George, you told us about how you had to take the piece and basically kind of completely change certain lines or scenes just because of how they were delivered by the actor or how they felt in rehearsals. Has there been a lot of that happen so far, or is it kind of pretty much as you wrote it?
It's pretty much exactly as we wrote it. We've changed one scene for emphasis so far, and it's all to do with keys. You'll notice if you look at the Village Hall poster, or if you can just see
just
that,
above Rich's
just
nipple.
above the nipple there, you can see that the key is an integral part of the logo. It's got a lock in it as well, and so the key to the plot is the key. So we have to make sure that the key can be seen at all times because it's a farce. So we need to make sure that that runs. So we've got to make sure that that's evident in the script. That is the only thing we've had to change so far.
Yeah.
Because of the inherent structure of the play, we haven't had to change the structure at all. It's got, it must go from this scene to that scene to that scene, just simply because there's no edit points. We don't have any blackouts.
Yeah, it's not like with By George where you could take certain elements and when you did cut it down from the full production to the refried version that we took to Bridlington, there were kind of segues and points where you could kind of go, oh, okay, well, we've pretty much covered everything we need to. We can kind of cut that section out, or we can cut a verse out or a chorus out, and we can just slip straight into this bit, and it still narratively fits together. But with the Village Hall, it's very much structured in a way where it's kind of like, this is exactly how you have to do it. If you don't do it like this, certain plot threads aren't going to work, and the narrative structure just doesn't sit into place.
If we were to do the same process with By George, with the Village Hall that we did with By George, then all we would have to do is cut out all the songs because all the plot
and turn it into a play.
We'd have to. If we were to shrink it down to an hour, then the only thing you could do is take out the songs because it has to work in this structure. Strange, isn't it?
There's an idea, to be fair.
Well, you know, possibly.
Package it up and be like, here you go, Saddleworth players.
Hi, all yours.
Yeah, nice one. So, in terms of the next steps then, we've got Neil coming back from his cruise.
Yes.
Obviously, we've just chatted to Gareth earlier on, and we found out a little bit more about his background, a bit more about Ken. So Ken's going to be there. Lauren's back and doing all the choreography upstairs. We've got Kiro going through the last few musical numbers. We're in a good place, and Act 2 is going to be the next thing to go over, isn't it?
Act 2 is when everything ties together. We will know what the state of the show is by the time you get this podcast, because we'll have rehearsed the previous Thursday. This podcast comes out on the Friday, so by that time we will know exactly how this show is going to look. Also, we're going to know how long it's going to be, because until now, we don't really know. We think Act 1 ran a little long. I think it ran at about an hour and 5, and we think we can possibly get that down to about an hour once things start to slicken up. And that is spot on.
I was going to say, that's a good amount of time for a first act. I think when you go over an hour, it's a bit like people start to kind of go, I can do with a drink or some ice cream.
I would usually agree, but there's so much crammed into this first act that it just moved at such a great lick on when we rehearsed the Act 1 that I don't think we're going to get that at all.
Good.
It was constantly, I'm going to call it eye candy. What I actually mean is that there's action everywhere, and also the viewer in this isn't passive.
No.
They have to seek out where the action is. The lighting will help to a certain extent, but there's so much going on the stage that you can't just sit and go, no.
And you're not watching it in a kind of almost two-dimensional stasis.
It is like watching
you're
things
watching it
in
and
3D.
going, oh, okay, that's happening and that's happening there, and I can see his arse and I can see her face and what's going on there.
Usually you get them confused.
Yes,
that's true.
Of course, especially from that perspective.
It's terrible.
Round cheeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's going to be great, isn't it? I think the fact that we still haven't actually planned exactly what we're going to do for opening night
No.
and the podcast and what's going to happen there. But we know that we're probably going to end up sitting somewhere all together.
Yeah.
And then probably the next time we do that will be a totally different place. So
Absolutely.
that we can see it from a different angle.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the joys of it, is that every single experience that you have with the Village Hall is going to be slightly different. Some people are also going to bring their own experiences to watching the show as well and say, I recognise that. But also, there are so many people doing different things on the stage at once that you'll find, I know why they're doing that. Why are they doing that? And these questions will come at you as you're watching. Yeah. I think it's just going to be a great experience. I cannot wait. First of all, for these 3 weeks to be over so we can actually see the whole thing.
When we did By George, obviously, you didn't get that opportunity because you were playing the lead and I didn't watch any of Act 2 so that I didn't get those spoilers. And this time, I haven't watched any of Act 2 either, and I'm not going to have any spoilers. And then when we are sat there, you're going to get the pleasure of watching my reaction live because you didn't get to see that.
Well, unfortunately, it's not all about you, Matt.
It is not all about me.
I'm going to be able to watch the entire audience, and I'll be in the round so I can see everyone respond. And see if people are puzzled by it, or if they're moved by it, or if they're laughing. Yeah, I mean, there's possibilities that we'll tweak it after. But I genuinely don't think so, having sat and watched that little section of the show. It's really something, Matt. And I'm very, very proud to call it mine.
Excellent. And so you should be as well. That's the thing. And I think based on the reaction that you had to By George, you're going to have a bit more of a kind of following happening this time around. We know that there was like a pretty much sold out status for By George. I reckon the Village Hall is probably going to sell out quite nicely.
It seems to be heading in the same way as George, which means it will probably sell out. But we're not counting our chickens. We do want people to get tickets. So if you want to grab a ticket, could you mind just pulling to that side?
I'll just move it slightly over here.
To make room for this QR code, you can scan this QR code.
It's the first time it's not been on one of our guests.
I know, it's tragic, isn't it?
It's on that wall.
Fair enough.
That dance bar.
Wherever you choose to scan it, scan your QR code. And that will get you through to the Lawrence Batley website, which is thelbt.org, and there you can buy your ticket to be a part of our premiere of the Village Hall.
You will get to see the Village Hall for the very first time ever in the world. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Can't wait, Rich.
Well, in that case, Matt, I think it's time we wrapped up this podcast, don't you?
I believe so. Okay. We've got another couple to go.
Yeah, just 2, I think, after this one.
Yeah, sad times.
Oh, no, it's fine. It means it's closer.
It means we're nearly in Chile.
Yes.
Cool. And on that note, thank you for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.